en esta tarde?
Aquí,
George.
aquí, este es lo mío.
Mr. Connolly, I hope you stick around for a minute. Should I understand?
Mast, I'm not here for your pleasure or enjoyment. I have a schedule to keep.
You rarely
Thank you.
offer me pleasure and enjoyment. I would agree
Well,
with
and
So,
I assure you the
but
feeling is mutual, Mr. Mast.
This goes to you and Mr. Isaacson and your conversation just now. Should I understand from your questioning that any mile not built you consider a failure? Any mile of wall not built you consider a failure?
Would you repeat the question? You want me to answer?
Yeah.
I'd be glad to. Would you repeat the question?
Whenever I ask questions, I do always give you guys time to answer, so I'll ask it again. Based upon the way I heard you asking questions, any mile of wall that was not built, would you consider that a failure?
I consider the fact that a presidential candidate campaigned on the issue of I will build a wall that covers the entire border of the United States with Mexico, and the Mexicans will pay for it.
I heard
you
your
got
talking
he got
point
rallies,
already.
and
But
he got
do you
rallies to
consider
answer
a
that.
mile of wall
yes,
not
I
built a
consider
failure?
that an abject failure, and I consider it a
A
con
mile
job,
of wall not built as a
and
failure?
I consider it a con job on the American people.
Do you think we should build every single mile of wall? Should we build every single mile of wall?
I don't think it's practical, and I don't think it will work.
I think it shows how little you know about physical security.
Well, I don't think it's your business to be speculating on what I know and don't know, Mr. Mast.
It's my business, physical security, being on
Why
one
don't you
side
stick?
of a wall
Why
or
don't you
another.
stick to what you know, as opposed to what I know?
I can speak to what you know. I can speak to what it appears that you know. I
Well,
think we all can.
You're good at throwing insults. I know I've seen it with Mr. Meeks.
Not an insult, in fact.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I thought I was being asked questions and
Of course.
being able to answer.
And does the gentleman from Florida
Yes.
yield to the gentleman from Virginia?
I did, but I'm going to move back to the panel now. I thought it was interesting. I thought maybe it was a point of agreement that any mile of wall not yet built is a failure, that we should get to every single mile of wall being built, because physical security does matter. Does it mean somebody's not going to try to jump it or burrow under it or cut through it or go around it in some other kind of way? Sure, somebody's going to try to do that, but as somebody that's been on a wall in Afghanistan and other places, I can tell you that it certainly makes a damn good amount of difference that that wall is there. How tall it is, how much of an area it encompasses, you name it, it makes a huge amount of difference. And so I thought it could have been a point of bipartisanness. Mr. Isaacson, I want to ask you a question. Your testimony was interesting, and the testimony of everybody was interesting. You said this is not the border situation the U.S. government prepared for. Expand a little bit.
Absolutely. In the 1990s and after 9/11, we built up a border infrastructure designed for Mexican males or potential terrorists. And now, 2/3 of who are coming are people asking for asylum and are often families and children.
And I think the numbers bear that out. I don't think you're saying something that's not true in there. And I think when we layered upon things that the other panelists have said, I think it works very well to say, okay, we have a situation that wasn't prepared for, but are we going to follow the law or are we not going to follow the law? Do words have meaning or do words not have meaning? Are we going to say that somebody is granted asylum because we're going to not define the word humane or inhumane and just say, well, if there was meanness in your country, then you're allowed in? Or if there was poverty in your country, that constitutes a credible threat to life, so you're going to be allowed in. Or if you used the word the intimidation in earlier questioning, said there was intimidation. If there's intimidation, does that constitute a credible threat to life? And the fact of the matter is, the situation at the border is not what we prepared for, because we're allowing people in under definitions that don't meet what we prepared for. We prepared for an actual, credible threat to life. And we've moved to a situation where everybody that makes a complaint about their country and is unwilling to look at a different city in their country, a different territory in their country, an adjacent country to them, because they're unwilling to look at that, will say, well, it must have been a credible threat to life. And I'm going to give the last word to the other panelists here to just simply talk about what you see in terms of the lack of truly looking at the word of the law and the word of the law that we must follow as a United States government.
Well, thank you for that important question. This Congress has the ability to change those laws. If it doesn't like the laws, if it doesn't like the grounds on which someone can be granted asylum, it can certainly change them if they want to. But doing so would be I think, a serious problem to cover all of those areas, because we cannot become the place for everyone across the world to come to this one country. God made a wonderful world. It has a lot of great places across it. We cannot be the only place in the entire world where every single person who wants more money or better protection from crime comes to the United States to be saved. What I would say is that one of the other things that is critically important about this entire situation is that, factually speaking, right now at the border, these people, the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of aliens crossing the border are not even being subjected or assessed for credible fear screenings. They're not even testing if these people have an asylum claim. They're just issuing court papers and letting them go. Out of, I think yesterday there was something like 9,400 crossings at the border, and out of that 9,400, preliminary reporting indicates at least 5,200 of them were just given paperwork to go show up in court someday. This is a significant and serious problem. The administration is not even assessing these people for any potential asylum claims. They're just letting them.
Gentleman's time's expired.